Welcome to the presentation of a lecture from Gnostic Radio, a free public service from the Gnostic tradition of Samael Aun Weor. Gnosis is the root wisdom of all the world's great religions. Gnosis is a universal teaching of practical science, whose goal is absolute liberation from suffering and the complete development of the human being. This lecture is one of hundreds available as free downloads, podcasts, or transcriptions. Our lectures range in topic and complexity in order to address the many needs of humanity. We invite you to browse our library of lectures to find teachings that suit you. Each Saturday, Gnostic Radio broadcasts live and includes a free online classroom, allowing listeners to see images, read related scriptures, and ask questions of the speaker. To learn how to participate, visit gnosticradio.org. Gnostic Radio is a service of Glorian Publishing, a non-profit organization. The lectures and radio broadcast have been made possible by the financial support of listeners like you. Most spiritual schools recommend a donation of $10 to $20 per lecture. To make a donation, visit gnosticradio.org. Now, with heartfelt wishes for the end of suffering for all creatures, we begin the lecture. May all beings be happy.
Moses in the wilderness. Continuing with a series of lectures in regard to the Exodus that, as you see, implies many aspects that we have to comprehend to really understand in which way we have to work with the Exodus. We are, as we say in Kabbalah, explaining the beginning with the end and the end with the beginning. This is how you do it. That's why when we go into Shemoth, Exodus, we have to go into Genesis and to Deuteronomy and different books written by Moses in order to explain the whole thing, because the whole work is one body that we have to understand, and that is beautifully written in the 5 books of Moses, but that we have to comprehend if we know the Hebrew letters in order to understand. So let us now go into the second graphic, which we were explaining many times in different lectures, in order for us to understand how this Exodus works in each one of us. We are going to enter today into the man who loves, concretely. And in order to continue with the next plagues in detail, in order to finish with this series of lectures. Previously, we were explaining that there are 3 degrees through which we can understand this path that we are explaining Kabbalistically. These 3 degrees are related with the 3 triangles of the Tree of Life that is very explainable there, called the vulgar man of the earth, the man who loves, and the man who dwells in silence. And beneath the 3 triangles is, of course, Mizrahim, Malkut, or what we call in the Exodus, Egypt. And not only in the Exodus, but many prophets in the Bible call Mizrahim Egypt. This is how it's called in Hebrew. But as we explain in many lectures, let us understand that this is not related to Egypt itself, the country that we in this day and age find in Africa, but is a symbol of it, as well as Israel. It doesn't refer to the country that we find in the Middle East named Israel, but to that Israel that everybody has within, and that relates to the archetypes that we have to free from matter. Matter itself is represented as Malkut. When you find the word Malkut, you find that it ends in Tav, which is the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet. The first letter is Ain, which is precisely where all of this begins. Remember that the Ain has three aspects: Ein Sof, and Ein Sof Or. The three aspects of the unknowable divine begins with A, with Aleph, and Malkut ends with Tav. That's why when we talk about that word, which is Aleph Tav, which is read At, encloses the whole tree in it. And if we want to add Klipoth, Klipoth also ends with T. So Tav. Klipoth, of course, is underneath Malkut. So this is how you see it. Because when we talk about Klipoth, we said that is the antithesis of the Ein Sof. So Ein Sof ends with Aleph, and Klipoth ends with Tav. So there you have all the 22 letters synthesized in all of the tree of life and tree of death, which this lecture relate to it. And when we talk about plural in feminine aspect is the letter Tav at the end. But when we talk plural in the masculine aspect is the letter Mem at the end of that word. That's why when we said Elohim, we are saying the plurality of that divinity above. But when we said Shemoth, which is Exodus in Hebrew, we are naming that plurality, those names within, inside the matter. And remember that matter in Latin is mother. So father above, mother below. And as the mother here, the woman, is always anxious to create, to be a mother, because that's why she has her womb, in order to concretize what is abstract. What is abstract is above, but woman comes and say, I'm going to make that abstract concrete. And that's why in her womb she makes life. And we see the things in concrete, not abstract. So this is how you have to understand Malkut. Malkut is feminine. And within its womb are all the archetypes. And all of those archetypes which are abstract, or as the Bible says, in this harmony, disorderly, Malkut, the Divine Mother, wants to make it concrete. That's why it's written that Bria, the world of creation, is the world of the Divine Mother that wants to make concrete the work of God. And that's precisely the whole scenario that we see here in which we are fighting. in order to make that desire or that longing of the Divine Mother to be fulfilled. But it's not easy. Because when the earth is disorderly in this harmony, which is Malkut, which is called Tohu Bohu, or Tohu Be Bohu, formless and void. That formless and void aspect of the earth, which is us, physically speaking, in our psychology, we call it Lilith and Nahema. So that, or those are the wives of the fallen Adam. We are the fallen Adam. So we have two wives, two kinds of psychology, Lilith and Nahema. As you see, Nahema is the white aspect of the moon, and Lilith is the black aspect of the moon. And what we find, of course, in Malkut is the Shekinah, the light of the Father, that wants to make concrete, that wants to form the man into the image of God with all the archetypes that we call the people of Israel, which are, of course, many. That is her longing. And therefore, she has to fight against those two women, which are the very root of this harmony that we find in our psyche. That's why the Divine Mother appears like the divine serpent in the hands of Aaron, the priest, that fights against the serpents of the magicians of Egypt. It's plural. Usually they always show two serpents. Those two serpents are the two serpents of the abyss called Nahema and Lilith, that the divine serpent of Aaron the priest swallows, transforms it. And this is something that has to happen within each one of us. Nahema is the mother of prostitution, adultery, fornication. Lilith is the mother of sexual abuse, homosexuality, lesbianism, and all sexual degeneration, which is very popular in this day and age in our planet Earth. And all that is inside of us. First, we had to fight against Nahema and then Lilith, but the one that has to destroy, to swallow those serpents is the Divine Mother, the Shekinah. And the whole fight is in our physicality. That physicality is called the Nukva. This physical body, which is and should be always the temple of God. Because the temple is that structure that contains all of that is holy. But as Jesus said, we have transformed the temple of God into a cave of thieves. So our goal is to make the new Jerusalem, the temple inside of us, to build that. And that's the whole work. To make of our body something holy. And that's a long work. That's why when the neophyte enters into the path, as you that come and listen to the lectures, that's just the beginning of that exodus that is applied in different steps Because remember that we have 4 worlds in Kabbalah. The very bottom, Malkut, is called the world of Asya, the world of action. Then we find the world of Yetzirah, which is the world of priesthood, the world of formation. Then the world of creation, which is the man who loves, which is called Bria, related to Da'at. And above it, Atziluth, where we find the archetypes, the perfect prototypes above, who descend into Malkut in order to have meaning of it. Because those prototypes or archetypes have to be something. This is what we call Elohim, the many aspects of God. But if we don't do anything, that they remains in chaos. They remain in disharmony. So we need to work with a force in order to do it. That force is called willpower. Without willpower, we are just lost. That's why we the Gnostics say, our motto is telema, willpower. And that telema, willpower, is Moses. Moses died, according to the Bible, and nobody found his grave. The truth is that the grave of Moses is inside of each one of us. He wants to resurrect and to develop in each one of us. That is where Moses is the willpower, which in the beginning, in us, is at 3% of willpower. And 97% is, of course, related with the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, which is our own intellect. So therefore, the neophyte enters, and the first thing that the neophyte has to do is to pass through the probationary path in order to be tested. The first 9 initiation of major mysteries relate to the beginning of that exodus, in which the soul, who is a slave of Lilith and Nahemah in Klipoth, surface Malkut for the first time when the soul experiences the first lower level of exodus, in which the initiator has to pass through the ordeal or the guardian of the threshold, and then the initiations or the tests, or the 4 tests of water, fire, air, earth, and the 9 initiation of minor mysteries in order to surface there into Malkut. That's the first step. It's called the probationary level, the very lower level, which any person can pass, but has to be in chastity. It doesn't matter if this person is married or is single. If he's single, has to practice the pranayama and to work a lot in his psychology in order to pass that first step. When he enters into Malkut, after defeating his own particular Pharaoh in that level, has to face that Pharaoh again at the level of the vulgar men of the earth. As we explained in many lectures, then the initiator enters into the mysteries of sexual magic, which is Yesod, and start working with the serpents of fire, and creates the astral solar body, the mental solar body, which are related, as we explained in the previous lecture, with the ordeals of the first chapter of Job, which relates to the earth, the fire, the water, and the air, which are related to the creation of the mental body, Netzach. When the initiates receives all of these ordeals and do not protest, because our ordeals that are placed in different steps according to the initiations of major mysteries, very strong. Here, of course, the Pharaoh will act more strong against us. So we have to double and triple the willpower in order to conquer. And with the help, of course, of the serpent. Because without the help of the serpent, the Divine Mother, Kundalini, that serpent that which is in the hands always of Aaron the priest, we can do nothing. Because she's the one that has to fight. She wants to make concrete the work of God, and there is two women there that are her rivals, Lilith and Nahemah. So what you see is the feminine aspect fighting there. But also the masculine appears. But it's our own psyche. That's why the psyche is always she. It's called the bride of God, but in exile. So therefore, when the initiate finally enters into the world of Tifereth, the world of willpower, when Moses is already created completely, which is a causal body, and then is going Job, the saint Job in the Bible, in the last verses of the first chapter say, then Job arose, which means work with willpower, after receiving the 4 ordeals and all the calamities that we read in the Bible, in the first chapter. And he rent his mantle, and shaved his head, and fell down on the ground and worshipped. That verse means that he started working with more willpower, developing the causal body. Because to worship, Job is a magician, as we explained in the previous lecture. To worship God as a magician, the only way to do it is in sexual magic. There is no other way. It's coming into my mind, for instance, in this moment, Samael on Veor, when he was in agony in the hospital. And he asked one of his children, what is that noise outside that I'm listening? And then he said, one of his children said, is the people there, you know, that they worship the Virgin of Guadalupe? So they are carrying a procession there. And there's a lot of people worshiping there, you know, Catholics. Oh, yeah, I understand, yeah. Poor people. They love the Divine Mother, but they don't know how to do it. They don't know that the way to worship the Divine Mother is in sexual magic, in the 9th sphere. If they knew about it, they will really do a great festivity. That's what he said. So of course Job knew it. So he was worshiping God and arose, the body of willpower called Moses within him. And enter, when he says shave his head, that is renunciation. When you fall down into the earth again means after creating the causal body of will, you renounce. You shave your head and go down to the earth again. That's called taking the direct path. And said, naked came I out of my mother's womb. He's talking about his divine mother Kundalini. Naked came out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. Yodhavah gave, and Yod-Hava has taken away. Blessed be the name of Yod-Hava. In all of this, Job sin not, nor charge Elohim foolishly. Instead of being stagnant for all the ordeals of the 40 initiations of fire, he started the 5th and entered the direct path and says, more calamities will come. I don't care. And he descended. That is called renunciation, which not too many initiates take. Because when they reach Tifereth, then they enter into nirvana and they don't renounce, they don't shave their head, they don't go down and to say, well, naked I came from my mother's womb and naked I will return. Naked means without attributes. They renounce everything in heaven. That renunciation is written in the 1st chapter of Job. One step after the other, he's losing the cattle, the camels, and many calamities that you see, you read there. Losing, he's losing. And on top of that, he says, I'm going to lose more. You see, that's the path of renunciation. Because everything that you have here in this physical world is according to karma, cause and effect. But when people enter into this path, they want everything peachy. And not everything is peachy. It's a lot of hard works that we have to endure. Then, of course, when he enters into the path of renunciation from Tifereth, go down again into Malkut to start again another exodus. Because he just made the half of the exodus. He reached only the half, we will say the 50% with his mastery. Now he is descending again into Malkut in order to take all of the archetypes out with Moses. The second aspect of this exodus. To reach the first is easy. Practically speaking, of course, but it's not easy. But is the first. This step that Job is taking here is the worst, is the most difficult. Because then we're going to explain what happened. Then that is the man who loves. Who is the man who loves? Is the 6th arcanum of the tarot, who is between two women, the Divine Mother and the whore. Could be two. But this specifically is Nahemah and Lilith. It's between. He has to choose. But he is Tifereth, the 6th. And this 6 is related with the 6th commandment. You shall not fornicate. Because if he fornicates there, he loses everything. Underneath there in the straight line is the 9th Sephirah related with you shall not commit adultery. Both are related with sex because 6 plus 9 is 15, which means the devil. He has to fight against Satan, 15, that works in fornication and adultery. Lilith and Nahemah, in other words. That's why you find that when the initiate descends again from Tifereth into Malkut, he enters again into Yesod. And that means 15, to work with Satan, with the devil, in a higher aspect. And that is in relation with Kamaduro, Tifereth, Karmasaya, Yesod. The two types of karma that you cannot negotiate. You have to pay any of those karmas with pain and suffering. That's why I'm telling you, many initiates that reach Tifereth, the 5th initiation, they go on the spiral. Because they know that if they descend into Yesod again, they have to face Kamaduro and Karmazaya. Karma of adultery and fornication. And that is paid only with death and suffering. That's why many don't understand why the initiates that enter into the man who loves, into Tifereth, Finally, when they conquer Satan, they die physically. They think that they reach the immortality, but the sinful body, the physical body that we have, relates to the DNA of our father that has fornication and adultery. To transform that into a pure body, chaste, that body has to die, has to be disintegrated, and to create a new one. Has to be disintegrated, create a new one. And in this world, Tifereth relates to Devarim, the words, the law, the words that we talk. Deuteronomius. So here, Tifereth enters into the rule of his own monad, which is Chesed, and his own ray, which is above Chesed. He has to act and to work on the direction of Chokhmah, the Christ, and his own monad, to obey those laws which are above. Has nothing to do with the laws below. Tifereth above is another type of laws. In order to overcome Kamaduro and Karmazaya, related to Lilith and Nahemah. And of course, when we enter into Tifereth and work with Devarim, it is the human soul, just the human soul there. But then the goal of the master that entering into the direct path and to renounce its job is to incarnate the divine soul. The couple. You see? Because we hear about Adam and Eve, psychologically speaking. The human soul is Tifereth, and the divine soul is Geburah, Budi, which contains within herself Chesed, the innermost. So if the initiate managed to incarnate Geburah, and then within Geburah is Chesed, and it's a complete monad incarnated. But that is a task for the master that takes the direct path. He has to do it. It means that when somebody reaches the fifth initiation of major mysteries, it's only the human soul there. That's part of the monad, the lower part. It's Moses facing God face to face, and God telling him, go down. Now you have to conquer your divine soul. And this is what happens. But here you find in the left side of this graphic the different Hebrew words that hide the mystery of the different books of Moses and the way that this is written. First, dabar, word. Dabar is the word. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Whosoever incarnates the Word, the Word gives power to. No one has uttered it, no one will utter it, except the one who has the Word incarnated. The Word relates to Chokhmah. And the kingdom of Chokhmah is the heart. Chokhmah is in charge of the world of Bria. Da'at is where it begins, the world of Bria. Where we find the duality of Binah. In other words, Chokhmah, the word Christ, works through Binah, the duality in Da'at, in the world of Bria, in order to incarnate in the initiate. And that's why when the initiate has incarnated, Krum Heller says, no one uttered the word, but only the one that has the word incarnated. In Hebrew, to speak the word means, or is written, ledabar. You see, the same three letters of word but with the letter Lamed that unites heaven and earth. Lamed is related with the heart. The word in the heart. So when you speak the word in the heart, when the word is in your heart, leatherberg. This is what the Bible is written. Leatherberg. And then wilderness. Midbar. Midbar is wilderness. The same word there. So when we said Moses in the wilderness, we are talking about Moses in the mysteries of the word in relation with Mem. Mem is 40. The value. 40 years in the wilderness, behold the letter Mem. The word, the work of the word in the wilderness. And then we find the book of Numbers, Bet Midbar, which also relates, to the same word. And Deuteronomy, that means words, plural, Devarim. So all of that gives you a clue to understand how the word works. That word is Hashem, the name of God. And this is how we understand it, or we comprehend it. Let us now go into the third graphic. The book of Genesis, again, explains this distinction. Bereshit, now we wrote Bat Rashi, which means the daughter of my head. Resh, Rashi, my head. Who is this Bat Rashi? Is the Divine Mother. In other lecture, we explained that the first triangle, Keter, Chokhmah, Binah, relates to the holy name, Yod, He, Vav. And the letter He, which is repeated, relates to the Ein Sof. So the letter He is the mystery of the Divine Mother. Because the Divine Mother in the Ein Sof is the origin of the three primary forces, Keter, Chokhmah, Binah. But the Divine Mother has many aspects. The second aspect is the Divine Mother in creation, or the Divine Mother in nature. The manifested Mother. The unmanifested is the Ein Sof. But the manifested is the He to the left of Binah. And then you said, Keter, Chokhmah, Binah, Yod, He, Vav. And the Divine Mother manifested is He again. So the letter He is precisely the mystery of the feminine force, the Divine Mother. Remember, the letter He is this. That's why the letter, the name of God has two He's. Yod He, Vav He, because in those letters are hidden the feminine aspect. And the letter He is the fifth letter of the Hebrew alphabet, because the Divine Mother has 5 aspects. We are entering into the second aspect here that works in the world of Bria, because she descends into the world of Bria and becomes Aima Elohim. And then Binah becomes in that Abba Elohim. And through them, the word enters into the world of Bria. The word that we are explaining here. That's why Barashith, the daughter of my head, is, of course, the Divine Mother. The daughter is the second He of the holy name. That's the daughter. And the head, of course, is Keter, Chokhmah, Binah. That's Rashi. Remember that Chokhmah is the right aspect of the brain. Binah, the left. And on top, we have Keter, which is the crown chakra. That's our head, called Rashi. And from Rashi emerges the other Hey, which is the daughter. And that's why we wrote, the daughter of my head created Elohim, bara Elohim. Because the Elohim are precisely the outcome of that below. Remember that in that you find Yod He Vav He Elohim. And from there descend the other Elohim that are named Elohim Gibor, Elohim Sabaoth, and all of those mysteries that are written in the Bible. So we are entering into the world of Bria here in order to explain how the Divine Mother, the daughter of my head, created Elohim with fire, water, and with the earth. What is the fire? The fire, of course, is related with Hashamim. Remember that we are talking about the letter Hey, and the spelling of the letter Hey is Hey and Aleph. When we take the letter Hey out of that, our letter Aleph from that Hey, we form the word Esh. And they form the Esh, the earth, Ha'esh, I mean the fire. Then the second word is Mim, water. So here we find the fire, water. And with the earth in the second or the verse below it. So Hashim and Haaretz hide fire, water, and earth, the three elements with which the Divine Mother creates the Elohim. You might ask, well, where is the air? Because there are four elements. Where the air is precisely Chesed, the Ruach Elohim, because air, wind, spirit in Hebrew is Ruach. And that's why the next chapter, the next verse in the Bible says, and the earth was formless and void. That's the Divine Mother, beneath, the Hey beneath here, Malkut. Yet, the Ruach Elohim, the air, the wind, the Spirit of God, was hovering upon the face of the waters. So out of the waters is the air. In other words, the Divine Mother is going to create that by utilizing the air. And we talk about the air many times, how we have to know how to breathe in order to exercise control of our own physicality. From the beginning until the end. If we cannot breathe, we cannot do anything. That's the mystery of the breath. Remember that God expresses His power through His breath. So then we have the four elements. The Ruach Elohim is the wind that hovers upon the face of the waters. And the other three elements are above. So the Divine Mother is going to work with those elements inside of us through the four ordeals. That's why we always pass through the ordeals. And remember that in the book of Job, the last ordeal is the ordeal of air in the first chapter. In order to start another level of the same ordeals. So then, we go into the next graphic, and we find Exodus 12, 40, 41. Where we find, and the sojourning of the children of Israel who were in captivity in Mizraim was 400 years in Netzach. Remember that we explained that when we are going out of the first triangle, which is triangle of priesthood, we enter into the world of Netzach, which is the last sephirah, or the first triangle of the tree of life, in that lower. Netzah is the mind. And Moses is called the priest of the mind, the priest of Netzach. So, why is Moses called the priest of Netzach, the mind? Is because in order to control the mind, we do it with willpower. When your mind is bothering you, and you want to control it, you have to use a lot of willpower, because the mind is a donkey, is a mule, stubborn. And that willpower is Moses. That's why his name, the priest of Netzach. And 30 years in Tifereth. Because every 100 years is an initiation of major mysteries. But each initiation relates to the 33 vertebrae. So when you reach the 33rd vertebra, it is 100 years in your physical body. When you reach the 33rd vertebra, or vertebrae, of your vital body, 200 years. Now, Joseph is 300 years that descended into Egypt in order to create the astral body. And when you create the mental solar body, the mind, solar mind, you reach 400 years. But then you said here, and 30 years means that when the serpent of the causal body, the willpower, which is Tifereth, reaches the 30 vertebra, which is precisely in the neck, before reaching the 500 years, you have to face the guardian of nirvana. This is something very important, because when you reach the 500 years, and then you already know where you go, nirvana or renunciation. But you have to face that with the 31st vertebra. To verify this, read the book Christ's Will by Samael on Veor, which eventually we will have, but it's very advanced, so we are not having it yet. It's in English, but we will put it as an e-book later. In that book, the master wrote how the initiate enters and faces the guardian of nirvana, who asks the initiate, which path are you going to follow now, direct or spiral? And if the initiate says direct path, enters into the path of renunciation. And then the serpent or the causal body reaches the 31st, 32nd, and 33rd vertebra of the causal body, and the initiate descends naked to desolation again, to exile. That's called exile in the Bible, when you renounce, renunciation, into Malkut. And it came to pass, it says there, that at the end of the 430 years, even the same day, it came to pass that all the army of Yod-Hava, you see, this is how you write army of Yod-Hava. Yod-Hava Sabaoth. That is the holy name of God in Netzach. When you write all the army of Yod-Hava went out from the land of Mizrahim, it is not referring physically to any exodus in this three-dimensional world. It refers to Yahovah Sabaoth, which is the holy name of the archetypes of Atziluth in Netzach, the world of the mind. Because the one that takes all of that Sabaoth, that army of the mind, is Moses. He's the only one that can take all of that, this harmony that we have in the mind, which is in chaos. Take it out. That's why Moses is called the priest of Netzach. This is something very important to understand. Then goes out from Mizraim, which is the world of matter, into the wilderness, into the aspect that we are explaining here. And of course, all the army of Yod-Hava means, because remember that the Pharaoh symbolizes the intellect, and the Pharaoh is controlling the army of Yod-Hava, Sabaoth, through the animal mind that we have, and that we were explaining in different lectures. So that's the real, it is written in the Bible, as you see in Exodus 12, 40, 41. To you to understand. That's called the direct path. When you are reaching the 30th vertebra of your causal body. This is in Tifereth. It's not in Malkut, in Tifereth. Then is when the second book of Job starts. You know? And Yod-Hava said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, and perfect and an upright man, one that feareth Elohim, and escheweth evil? And still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without a cause. He is now in renunciation. He is more humble than ever. And Satan answered Yod-Hava and said, skin for skin, yea, all that a man hath will give for his life. But put forth thy hand now. Remember, the left hand is the hand of justice. And touch his bone. Remember that we explained that the skeletal system, the bone, relates to Hesed. And his flesh, Geburah, and he will curse thee to thy face. Why is Geburah related to flesh? In many lectures, we explain that Malkut, our physicality, is an expression of Geburah, because the serpent that descends from a Geburah in the left of the tree of life goes into Malkut. So our physicality is the outcome of Geburah. Ida, the serpent, Ida, in fornication or in chastity. It depends how we utilize that serpent, which is the left, is a feminine serpent. Because Pingala is masculine and Ida is feminine. Yin-yang. Or as we said in Hebrew, Obd and Od. Od is the right, Obd is the left. That's why the name of Yob is in relation with the left. Yob, the Ob, the lunar force. And of course, that's why Geburah is written in red there. Because Geburah is also, as we told you in other lectures, related with the blood, with the systole, diastole, with the circulatory system. That goes along with Tifereth, because Tifereth and Geburah are related. The human soul and the divine soul. So we now, the initiate that reaches Tifereth is with the human soul. He created the human soul, succeeded. But now he has to conquer the divine soul, which is feminine. And that's very difficult. Because it's that serpent that is related with Lilith and Nahemah down here, in the flesh. That's why Satan says, well, if you allow me to touch now his bone and flesh, you will see he is not going to curse you in your face, blaspheme in your face. It's not just here physically. Because the bones that we have relate to the right side of the tree of life, which is Chesed. Abraham is related with all the bones that we have in the body. But Abraham is hidden, you see? He's inside our body, right? Can you see my bones? No, you can see only my flesh. Physically speaking, you are seeing only Geburah, but not the bones, which are hidden behind the muscles and tendons and flesh. And that's why it is written that within Geburah is Chesed. Within the divine soul is the spirit above, the same here below, because the physicality is the expression of many Sephiroth. And this is how you see it. That's why when Moses descended from the Mount Sinai, his flesh was red, is what the Zohar says. It means that he was acquiring all the attributes of Geburah in himself. He had two horns, because Geburah is related with Satan. He was conquering Satan and showing Lucifer glowing in his flesh, Geburah, and within him was Chesed. But in order to reach that level of Moses, with that glowing, we had to work with Satan. Remember that the first chapter of Job is Satan working with Job, but in the first triangle. Now he says, okay, I work with Job, your disciple, in the first triangle, and he conquered. But allow me now to work with him in the second triangle, is what he said. The triangle when he is entering, renunciation. And we will see if he succeeds. Because here, in the second triangle, the tree of life, this is related with Kamaduro and Karmazaya. And I know him very well. When he was downed, he was doing a lot of adultery and fornication. Now he is renouncing. He is trying to purify himself, but I'm going to apply the Kamaduro and Karmazaya to him, if you allow me. Of course, God says, give permission, right? Because the left side is the opposite. And what happened? We go into Genesis now. And Yod Hava Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, Tifereth, Moses, Job. And he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which Yod Hava Elohim had taken from Adam made he a woman, and brought her unto Adam. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, Isha, because she was taken out of Ish, men. That is related with this. The making of this woman here, when Adam is sleeping, that means exile. To fall asleep means to enter into exile, to go back into Malkut and to start working and making within yourself the beautiful Eve, the divine soul, to incarnate the divine soul in the initiate. That's why Solomon the king wrote, and his son of sons, chapter 6, verse 10. Who is this arising like the dawn, fair as the moon, bright as the sun, and terrible as an army with banners? Well, after that, in that book, he says the Shulamite. The Shulamite, which is the divine soul. But white as the moon, or fair as the moon, because the moon is the left. And bright as the sun, because the sun also rules Geburah, and is red. That's why when you see the dawn, the morning, you don't see yellow light, but red. And you see, of course, Venus. So that light is the force of Geburah coming into the initiate. And that's why, when that happens, the different elements which are inside of us at that level say, which in other words are they're called the Philistines, the invaders, the ego. Woe unto us! Who shall deliver us out of the hand of this mighty Elohim? These are the Elohim that smote Mizrahim with all plagues by the power of the word. That is written in Samuel 4:8. Which Elohim are they talking about? Elohim in the top of the left, which is Jehovah Elohim, which means Abba Elohim and Aima Elohim are the ones that work against in Mizrahim with all the plagues. Of course, in the book of Samuel says, in the wilderness, because as you show you, wilderness means the word too. But the right translation is by the power of the word, because through the word is how God punished. Through the word is how we receive punishment. The word is important to study it. Master Jesus talks about the word, how from the heart comes evil and good. So when we talk about the word, we have to be careful. Now, in Song of Songs of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5 and 6, you read, Shwardi I am, and beautiful daughters of Jerusalem, as tents of Kedar, as curtains of Solomon. God, behold me, for I am Shwardi, for the sun has tanned me. My mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyards, but my own vineyard have I not kept. How do you say it about vineyard? Vineyard. Who is this? It's the Shulamite against the divine soul. It's Eve. Why is Shwardi black? Because this is how the soul is when it is in the matter. Charcoal. When you burn the charcoal, you liberate the red fire of Geburah. Remember that when the volcanoes vomit the lava, it's red, but then turns into black. So the divine soul, Neshama, in other words, is beautiful, but it's black in each one of us. The only thing that we have of Neshama within is the essence. To liberate all the archetypes at that level is to build divine soul. One thing is to build human soul, and another is to build divine or spiritual soul, in order to become a man into the image of God, male, female. So that's why you find there that when we talk about divine soul, inside, where we have ego, she is Shwardi and beautiful, because the soul is always beautiful. Remember that beautiful is Tifereth. So this part of Tifereth, you said in this case of the word beautiful is written in a different way, but it's the same part of Tifereth, beauty. And Solomon, who is Solomon? Chesed. That's Solomon in us. The sun has tanned me. What is that? The force of the Ein Sof Or descending into Malkut. My mother's children were angry with me. That's all the archetypes. Why are all the archetypes angry against Eve? Why? Because she was kept or made the keeper of the vineyard. The vineyard, remember, related with grapes, related with grape juice. We explain in other lectures that the grape juice relates to Geburah, to relate to the Eucharist. So it's also related to Geburah. So the feminine aspect descends in order to work with Adam. But Eve tastes of the apple, of the tree of good and evil, and all the archetypes are lost. All of his brothers, the 12 tribes of Israel, because she couldn't keep the vineyard, which is the tree of good and evil, tree of knowledge. This is how we are. The left side of us is Ida, the serpent of fornication. Every time that we fornicate, all the archetypes are against us. All the parts of God which are inside of us are angry with us. Because that divine part which relates to Malkut, relates to creation, to reproduction, is utilized in the animal manner. So now you understand the meaning of this sentence of the Son of Sons of the book of Solomon. Eve and the serpent, that serpent that is entwined in Eve, is Ida, the lunar serpent that we have to conquer. Now let us read Zohar. He explains it beautifully here. Zohar says, at the time, what time? At the time when Adam was sleeping, it says, I'm going to make your twin soul for you. Because remember that God says, I want to make a partner for this human soul. And he made all the animals with beasts, etc., but he didn't find any partner for Adam. He looked to the left, he looked to the right, and he didn't find any partner. And all he said is, I'm going to make it for him, so I'm going to put him in exile. That's renunciation, going to Malkut again. And to start again making the serpents of light. The serpents of light refers to Geburah, because from the fire of Geburah emerges the light. Without fire, there is no light. And then the Zohar says, at that time, Yod-He Vav-He Elohim Binah caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam. Yod-He Vav-He Elohim alludes to Abba and Aima in that. They are working from that below. Remember that that is the top of Bria, the second triangle that we are approaching here. A deep sleep is the exile, which means renunciation. As it is also written, a deep sleep fell upon Abraham in Genesis 15:12. When he descended to Egypt, also he slept. He was in a type of renunciation as well. He, Yod-He Vav-He Elohim Binah, caused a deep sleep to fall upon Moses, Tifereth. And he slept. Sleep is an allusion to exile, to Exodus 2:21. When he was there, out of Egypt in exile. In the phrase, and he took one of his sides, from whose ribs did he take? When you read, for instance, and he took one of his sides, you meant, oh, he took one of the sides of Adam. But it doesn't say there. It says, and he took one of his sides. Could be his own sides. Because Jehovah Elohim is Yod, He, Vav, He. And one of the sides of Yod, He, Vav, He is the letter He. So he took part of that letter He out, which is that rib, in order to make the divine soul for Adam. Abba and Aima took one rib out of one of the maidens of the queen. She is the aspect of white fair as the moon, part of God, in other words, and close up the flesh in its place. Refers to the flesh about whom it is said, for that he, Tifereth, the human soul, also is flesh, Geburah, because that flesh descends from Geburah to Malkut. The flesh of Moses, Tifereth, is red, and it is said of him, the face of Moses is as Madim, Mars, the face of the sun in Geburah. Because when the sun is in Tifereth, it's yellow, like the light. But when it's in Geburah, it's red. This is the reason why me, who is Sat, this Eve arising is Eve, arising like the dawn, fair as the moon, bright as the sun. The word this in Hebrew means Eve. So when you read, who is this, arising like the dawn, fair as the moon, bright as the sun, you may ask, oh, it's a question. No, it is saying that who is Sat. Both aspects of the Holy Spirit. Who is above, as we explain in many lectures, me, and Malkut is Sat, Eve, below. This is how we had to work. Ezekiel says, I made the nations to shake at the sound of Satan's fall. When I send him down to hell with them that descend into the pit, and all trees of Eden, the section and best of Lebanon. The selection and best of Lebanon. Lebanon means the kingdom of Chokhmah, the heart. And all that drink water in Jesol shall be comforted in the hiddenmost part of the earth. Means all the people that are in chastity. That's the ascension of Satan in the left. After Jehovah said, go and touch the flesh of Job. Do your work. Build that divine soul. To whom that art thou those like in glory and in greatness among the trees of Eden? He's saying that this Satan is like me, which is the Holy Spirit, in that in glory. Is part of God, in other words. Satan is part of God in glory and in greatness among the trees of Eden. Because Satan works in the tree of good and evil. Remember that. This is where the serpent appears, in the tree of good and evil, which is the left. Thou shalt lie in the midst of the uncircumcised, with them that be slain by the sword. Who are the uncircumcised? The fornicators, in other words, those that do not transmute. Do not think that when you read uncircumcised in the Bible, you're talking about those people that don't have the circumcision. Physically speaking, that is just a pact in order to remember the true pact. When you are circumcised means that you are not fornicating. When you are uncircumcised means that you are fornicating. Even if you, in your flesh, are circumcised. This is Pharaoh, or Pharaoh, and his entire multitude, said Adonai Yod-Hava. So Ezekiel here explains all the dissension of the forces of God in order to start building the divine soul. Then we enter into Exodus. And Yod-Hava said unto Moses, take your hands full of ashes of the furnace, and let Moses sprinkle it towards heaven in the sight of Pharaoh. And it shall become dust in all the land of Mizraim, and shall be boil breaking forth with blains upon men and upon beasts through all the land of Mizraim. That is the sixth plague that falls into the flesh, as you see, because Geburah is the flesh. And that's why in the book of Job, in the next graphic, we find what Job says. So went Satan forth from the presence of Yod-Hava, and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot to his crown. So you see the similitude here? What is written in Exodus is the same thing as written there, because Job's physical body is the outcome of Geburah. It's his own flesh, his own physicality, as the physicality that we have here. Of course, this is in the level of, that we're talking here, the second triangle. It's just the beginning. That fire, which is written as boils coming out to the flesh, in the beginning, is that fire of passion that emerges, pushed by the devil. Because the devil, Satan, knows very well this, and he says, okay, he reached mastery and he is chaste. But I know him very well. In his past lives, all that he did. I know all of those egos related with that passion, Geburah, that fornicated. We will see if these really love God. I'm going to push all of those egos out into his own flesh, into his own body. And we will see if he will defeat those egos or be a slave of them. That is called Nahemah, adultery. The egos of adultery will emerge, and prostitution will emerge from the abyss, pushed by our own particular Satan. And then you see there Job suffering that plague. He is really receiving all the fire of hell, literally in his own body. That's what the master suffers. Woe of that master, or the fifth initiation of mayor misters, if he doesn't start working with the egos of prostitution and fornication and adultery, which all of us have, because there is not a single person here without those egos. But when you reach that level, is when Satan starts pushing them. Right? If you annihilate them, comprehend them with the help of the Divine Mother, because those egos are the children of Lilith and Nahemah. But literally, the children of Nahemah, the white moon. If he succeeds, he will, like Samson, kill the lion of that area where Samson killed the lion. That lion is a fire. The animal, bestial fire of sex that all of us have. So little by little, bit by bit, the comprehension, analysis of those type of egos in order to overcome that plague of Geburah. Remember very well, is in relation with that. Because the other plague that comes after that is a plague of hail and fire. In other words, water in combination with Geburah, because water is Chesed in the right. When descending into the earth becomes ice. The opposite of Geburah is Malkut. Because, the opposite of Chesed. Because Chesed, the spirit, which is the seventh Sephirah from the bottom to the top, related with the seven bodies of the true man. Chesed is the seventh, but indeed is the first, if we count it from above. And the seventh is Malkut, which is called the Shabbat. The seventh. So, when we talk in alchemy or in Kabbalah, we said the physical body is the opposite of the spirit. And why? Because the physical body, the flesh, is the outcome of Geburah, the flesh. And inside is the spirit. But in the flesh, Nahemah is really the opposite of Chesed, psychologically speaking.